never knew that 2 rolls of barbed wire spread 40 feet across could just stop everything.
All right, so we're jumping right to the fun of this. And first of all, I love a fast start in a movie. I got to give the filmmakers props, and I think it goes that way in the book based on what I remember, but they jump right into it, and he's good to go. And you know that's going to come into play later. There's lethal rounds and there's non-lethal, and that's obviously so he can make the DEFCON 1 switch at some point when the government's pushed him just a little too far. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. You don't, it's not, they're not deceptive. They know that he's going to, you know, at some point he's going to be set up against a bureaucratic machine that the audience is also going to want taken down. And they do that.
I always bleed. I'm going to pull them up now, but I always bleed for those characters that you just have to be the democratic asshole. We talked about this before too, how the guy from Ghostbusters plays this part, you know, just like bureaucratic asshole. But this guy, Peter Dvorsky.
Yeah, he's great. He
thankless role of just being an asshole all the time.
But to his credit as a professional, he plays it perfect. Like these are basically the equivalent of wrestling heels. You go in there, your job is to make the hero have the hero moment. And Lawrence Dane does it really well because he kind of rides the fence between understanding and also having to be part of the solution. And everything is better with Yaphett Kotto in it. Though I can't understand why. I can't understand why it is. But it is.
You see him brewing the entire time. You could just feel it's like a volcano inside him to when he finally, you know, like he has to lay it down.
Yeah.
And saves the day.
Exactly. He has to lay it down. And I'm surprised Yaphett Kotto must have gotten a gum endorsement at some point in his career because, man, that guy and chewing gum are like so synonymous. And he just comes in and does his Kotto-ness. And I love every minute of it. So what happens is, right, the guy's finally pushed over to the edge. He's got a train wreck of a relationship. Can't see his kid. That's when he decides I can do one thing right. And he's looking down the barrel of like an M79 and goes, you know, I'm going to matter again. I'm going to matter today is what it comes down to for all of us in life, right? And so for this is the trigger.
He has those great moments where he says, you know, there was a boy chained to a bed and beaten. And this guy was forgotten because he froze to death in his apartment. He's like, guys, the humanity, it's as relevant today.
It is.
It's just like, hey, buddy, let's treat each other nicer.
So what Ratchford is stating there is when Tommy Lee Jones goes in to make his stand, he does it at like 9 o'clock at night, wires the place up, but he goes in with the classified ads. So he's got a list of stories and the obituaries of people that were forgotten, disrespected, much like he was. And essentially takes on the theme, and you know it's coming, that he's standing up for all of us. And later there's people that make shirts, the Park Is Mine shirts, and they're marching in a parade.
The classic man on the street that all of a sudden someone goes, I don't like him. And other people, I'm for him. He speaks for me. And we got a da-da-da-da. Like,
right.
There was some young guy with a head of hair that's going like, hey, man.
Why is it that they always have the same two types in those kind of statement roles? It's always the older lady or the neocon or the businessman is like, I think they ought to shut him down. And there's always the dude from like, you know, Gino's Pizzeria who's like, yo, Holmes, I like this guy, man. We're with him, man. We're with him. Let's get him some pizzas. Let's order up some pizzas up in here and let's get him over the wall quick. You know, he's fighting for us. You know, it's always the same two types of actors, but what I love about it is once he's got this thing wired, and I don't know the layout of Central Park, so it's also semi-fascinating to me. He like detonates the station. He calls it in. Now this was interesting, right? And I don't know what you think about this, Jeremy, but he calls it in. And remember, it's an era where terrorist threats were treated as a joke. Like the FBI would investigate it, but it was rarely taken seriously. Now you call in something like that and they're on you. I mean, I was in a terrorist attack in 96, Atlanta. And when that bomb went off, we seriously thought for a while, like the electrical truck just blew up. We didn't even compute that somebody might have blown it up. We were like, these fucking engineers don't even know how. It was crazy. So this is around 10 years before he calls in the threat and says, here's what we're going to do. The desk clerk doesn't take him seriously. So he bombs the station house.
Well, Mike, old buddy, this is it. Hope you knew what you were doing. Doesn't work, well, hell, it just wasn't meant to be. I'll just walk the hell right out of here. If it blows, it blows.
It's pretty quiet for me.
Yeah, probably some nutcase.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, someone's bombing the precinct house.
The little nitpick, I guess it was so funny as I watched it again. And yeah, she's on the front desk.
Yeah.
There's really no action going around. This is a New York City
Yeah.
police station, but they got a guy mopping behind her. I was
Right.
like, why do you have? I mean, I guess maybe they didn't. They spent all the background on the crowds in the streets.
Right. It's a pretty quiet precinct, and it's also implying that New Yorkers bother to keep things clean. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
So already, you know, this isn't made by a guy. This isn't directed by a guy who spent much time in New York. But anyway.
Hello, my name is Simon Williamson. Help us find a cure for NMOSD, neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder, and with it, cancer. Please go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation and donate if you can.
The other funny thing was saying, it was shot in Toronto, so it's all the exteriors going into the park that are New York exteriors, but all the stuff was shot in Toronto. And then they must have done one other scene because Jay Thomas is in it.
Jay Thomas is in it. Yeah.
Hey, he's another reporter. I'm like, hey, he wouldn't have been in Toronto, so that must have been a New York thing. But he's uncredited. But yeah,
why do you think he's uncredited? I was wondering that too, because it's clearly him, and he was trying to get an acting career, but he's uncredited when so many people with lesser dialogue are credited. Do you think he wanted to take his name off it for some reason?
No idea. You'd have to ask him.
Yeah, I would. I'd like to ask him actually. But anyway, continue with your thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's just so all the interior of the Central Park that we saw was interior park and probably St. Lawrence Park or something like that in Toronto.
Yeah, and it's done well, man. It matched up really well, I think, because I bought it. I felt like we were part of this siege. I mean, I don't know if this is tactically possible, and I don't even care. This is just one of those movies. You could have put Bronson in this role. You could have put Chuck Norris in this role. It still would have worked the exact same way. And that's part of the reason I watch some of these movies. It's not because they may be logistically sound or possible or improbable or what have you. It's just fun to go along with this sort of forward like full throttle ride and just go on this adventure, regardless of how maybe practical or ridiculous it may be.
This is Peter Coyne from The Godfathers. NMOSD is a killer. Help find a cure for NMOSD and with it cancer. Please go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation and donate today. Thank you.